Imagine trying to navigate this incredibly complex maze, right? The Canadian criminal justice system. And then, on top of that, you're dealing with the unique challenges of an acquired brain injury.
Hmm.
Well, it's a huge undertaking. So today, we're really going to dive deep into a toolkit, a guide designed to help people through it, to empower survivors.
Yeah, exactly. Our mission here is really to demystify things, to pull back the curtain on the legal process, which can feel so, opaque. We want to connect you, the listener, with the supports you need, help you understand your rights, the protections you have. Basically, it's about getting you informed quickly and clearly so you get fair treatment.
And this isn't just theoretical stuff. What's powerful here is that we're drawing from a toolkit put together by the Brain Injury Society of Toronto's ABI Justice Initiative.
Hmm.
It's based on real experiences, real feedback from survivors. So we'll be getting into practical tools, communication strategies, actual guidance.
Real world application.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. Let's unpack what acquired brain injury, ABI, actually means in this context. Simply put, it's any damage to the brain that happens after birth.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about developmental conditions people are born with. It's a change from how someone functioned before. Could be from a traumatic injury, like a car accident, or maybe a stroke, an infection, a tumor, lack of oxygen, lots of causes.
Right. And that change is the critical piece because these changes, even seemingly small ones, can have massive impacts when someone interacts with the legal system.
Wow.
ABI often affects cognitive functions, things like memory, attention span, problem-solving skills, executive functions like planning or organizing thoughts.
Right. The very things you need to follow complex procedures.
Exactly. It makes understanding legal jargon, following court proceedings, even just recounting events really difficult. And then you layer on the physical symptoms, maybe fatigue, headaches, mobility issues, and the emotional or behavioral changes. Anxiety, depression, maybe trouble controlling emotions, all amplified by stress. Yeah, and what's fascinating and really important here is how these specific challenges directly point to the need for specific legal protections. It's not just helpful, it's necessary.
Okay, and Canada's legal system does have frameworks for this, right? Protections are built in. We're talking about things like the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and also provincial human rights laws. These aren't just suggestions, they actually mandate reasonable accommodations for people with disabilities, including ABI. It's about ensuring equal access, real access.
Precisely. And that translates into specific fundamental rights for ABI survivors involved in the justice system. So first, there's the right to accommodation. This isn't just one thing. It could mean modifying communication, maybe simpler language, written summaries.
Or speech, maybe.
Their speech, absolutely. Or extended time to answer questions, frequent breaks, even having a trusted support person there with you. The key thing, though, is you often have to ask for these. You need to advocate for yourself.
Okay, that's crucial. What else?
Then there's the right to information, making sure that all the complex legal stuff is given to you in a way you can actually grasp. So, simplified explanations, maybe visual aids, repeating things. Don't ever feel bad asking for clarification.
That makes sense.
And the right to support having someone you trust with you during interviews or in court, provided they don't interfere, obviously. And this all connects to broader things like the Canadian Victims' Bill of Rights, getting information, protection from intimidation, and provincial victim services laws, covering things like restitution or privacy. Ultimately, it's all about protection against discrimination because of the disability. That's the foundation.
Okay, so we have these rights, these protections. What does the actual journey through the system look like for someone? It's not straightforward, is it?
No, definitely not always. The Canadian criminal justice process generally follows a path, but it can be long and winding. It usually starts with initial reporting of the crime, then there's an investigation, maybe charges filed, then pretrial stuff, possibly a trial, and finally some kind of resolution.
And understanding that path is key because, well, you mentioned it can take a really long time.
Yeah, months or even years. And that timeline itself is a huge challenge for ABI survivors, especially with issues like memory, focus, or just dealing with uncertainty for so long.
Right, and along the way, there's all this legal language flying around.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Knowing some key terms is really helpful so you don't feel completely lost. For court proceedings, you'll hear terms like arraignment, that's just when the accused first appears to respond to the charges, bail, which is about their release before trial, the Crown Attorney, that's the prosecutor,
Yeah.
and disclosure, the evidence shared.
Okay. And what about terms related to the survivor's role?
Good question. You need to know about the victim impact statement, your chance to talk about how the crime affected you. Restitution, potential money for losses. A publication ban protects your identity. testimonial aids, things like screens to help you testify, and victim services organizations that provide support. And my advice is always, always ask for clarification. If you don't understand something, ask. It's smart, not a weakness.
Definitely. Okay, so let's walk through it, starting with reporting a crime. That first step can feel huge. How does someone initiate that? Especially if, memory's an issue because of the ABI.
Right. It can be daunting. The first step is contacting the police 911 for emergencies, or the non-emergency line otherwise. And here's a really important point for ABI survivors. It is absolutely okay if your memory isn't perfect. Investigators are trained for this.
They expect that sometime.
They do. They know trauma and injury affect recall. They're looking for the truth of what happened, not necessarily a perfect minute-by-minute account. Your best recollection is what matters.
That's reassuring. Any tips for preparing for that initial contact?
Yeah, a little preparation can go a long way. Before talking to the police, maybe try writing down what you do remember, even fragments, dates, times, people involved, how you felt right after. If memory's tricky, maybe ask a trusted friend or family member, someone not involved in the incident, to help you organize your thoughts.
Good idea.
And you can request that this support person be there during the police interview. And during the interview itself, be proactive. Ask for those accommodations we talked about. Breaks if you need them. Ask them to repeat questions. Maybe ask for a quieter room if possible. They're required to provide reasonable accommodations.
Okay, so you make the report. That's the first hurdle. But then comes the investigation, working with police over time. What should someone be ready for there?
Right. It's not usually a one-off conversation. It's more about ongoing engagement. Prepare for follow-up interviews. Gather any documents, photos, evidence you might have. It's also really helpful to bring a list of your specific ABI accommodation needs and maybe any medications you take that could affect things like concentration.
Be upfront about the ABI from the start.
Absolutely. Inform the investigators right at the beginning about your needs. This helps them adjust their approach and stay organized. This is crucial because investigations can take weeks, sometimes months. Keep a file, police contacts, case numbers, copies of your statements. Use a calendar for appointments, set reminders.
And follow up.
Yes, don't hesitate to follow up periodically. It shows you're engaged and helps keep things moving, or at least keeps you informed. It's about managing that long haul.
Okay, investigation wraps up. Then it's about charges,
Yeah.
right? Understanding charges in court proceedings. Who decides?
That falls to the Crown Attorney. They review the evidence from the police investigation. They decide based on two key things. Is there a reasonable prospect of conviction? And is prosecuting the case in the public interest? And again, this decision process can take more time, weeks or months potentially.
Another waiting period.
Unfortunately, yes. If they decide to approve charges, the accused person has their first court appearance. They'll hear the charges, enter a plea guilty or not guilty. If it's a not guilty plea, then the case starts moving towards a trial.
And what's the survivor's role during all this court stuff? It can feel like you're on the sidelines.
It can feel that way, but you absolutely have rights. You have the right to be kept informed about court dates, major decisions, and you have opportunities to participate, maybe being called as a witness, or if there's a conviction, providing that victim impact statement we mentioned earlier.
Right. But navigating that court process itself, with all the delays, the legal talk, the emotions, especially with an ABI, how do people manage?
It's tough. There's no sugarcoating it. It often involves multiple appearances, adjournments, delays. This is where having really strong support systems, family, friends, victim services becomes absolutely critical. And managing expectations about the timeline. Knowing it's likely a marathon, not a sprint, can help mentally prepare.
Okay, let's talk about testifying. Preparing to testify as a witness. That feels like a really high-pressure moment. For someone in the ABI dealing with memory, concentration, stress, what's the key to getting through that successfully?
Preparation is absolutely everything. And knowing your rights to accommodations, definitely meet with the Crown Attorney beforehand. They can walk you through the kinds of questions you'll likely be asked, the topics they'll cover, and be really honest with the Crown about your ABI challenges. If you have trouble with memory recall under pressure, or if you get fatigued easily, tell them. They can then adjust their style, maybe ask simpler questions, go slower.
That makes a huge difference. And what about specific rights during the testimony itself? What can you ask for in the moment?
You have several rights. You can ask for frequent breaks if you're feeling tired or overwhelmed. You can ask for permission to refer to notes or your written statement that you prepared beforehand.
Well, that's helpful.
Very helpful. You can request simplified questions if the legalese gets confusing. And ask for extra time to think before you answer. Don't feel rushed. And critically, it is perfectly okay to say, I don't remember, or I'm not sure, the court understands that trauma and brain injury affect memory. Honesty is key, even if it means acknowledging gaps.
Okay, so let's dig into those courtroom accommodations a bit more. What specific tools or provisions exist under the law, like the criminal code, to help ABI survivors?
Yeah, the criminal code actually outlines several things, often called testimonial aids, designed to make testifying less stressful and more accessible. We've mentioned some. Extended time and breaks are crucial for managing fatigue and processing questions. Permission to refer to written materials like your police statement or notes can be a lifeline for memory. You can often have a support person present in the courtroom for emotional support, though they usually can't sit right beside you or communicate while you're testifying.
Right.
And then there are testimonial aids like using a screen so you don't have to see the accused, or testifying via closed-circuit television from another room.
How do you get these things arranged?
The best strategy is to talk to the Crown Attorney about your needs as early as possible. Let them know what would help you testify effectively. Some accommodations might require a formal application to the judge, and sometimes medical documentation explaining the need due to the ABI can be helpful. But please remember, asking for these isn't weakness. It's about ensuring you can give your best evidence fairly and safely. It's strength.
That's a really important message.
Oh.
Okay, shifting gears slightly, but still about participation, victim impact statements. You mentioned this is a powerful way to be heard. Tell us more.
It really is. Its purpose is to give you a formal opportunity to tell the court, in your own words, how the crime has impacted your life. Physically, emotionally, financially, socially. It can be a written statement, you can read it aloud, or sometimes a support person can present it for you.
And for ABI survivors, is there a specific angle they should consider?
Absolutely. It's really important to explain how the crime specifically interacted with your existing brain injury. Did it make your ABI symptoms worse? Did it create new challenges in your daily life? Did it impact your recovery or rehabilitation? You should cover the physical impact, new injuries, worsened ABI symptoms like fatigue or headaches, the emotional impact, mental health effects, anxiety, depression, impact on relationships, especially as they relate to the ABI, and the financial impact, medical bills, therapy costs, lost wages.
It sounds very personal.
It is. And the key thing is, it's about your experience. It's not about telling the judge what sentence to give or forgiving the offender. It's simply your story of the impact.
Okay. The whole legal process, testifying, everything,
Yeah.
it's clearly draining,
Mhm.
especially with an ABI. What about support after the court case or even during? What emotional and psychological support services are out there?
Accessing good mental health support is often not just helpful, it's essential. This whole process can be re-traumatizing. Look for trauma-informed counseling. Ideally, find services that specialize in working with crime victims who also have disabilities like ABI. Certain therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, or EMDR can be very effective, especially when they're adapted for ABI needs.
Where do you find these services?
Victim services programs are a great starting point. They often offer free counseling or can give you referrals. Brain injury associations might also have lists of therapists familiar with ABI. And don't underestimate the power of support groups connecting with other survivors who understand can be incredibly validating. The main takeaway is, if you're struggling, reach out. Help is available.
And what about legal help? We talked about the Crown Attorney, but is getting your own lawyer, maybe an advocate, sometimes necessary?
That's a really common question. And yes, sometimes independent legal advice or advocacy can be crucial. While the Crown represents the state's interest in prosecuting the crime, they don't represent you personally in the same way your own lawyer would. A victim's rights lawyer, or one specializing in disability law, can specifically advocate for your rights, make sure you get the right accommodations, and help you navigate the system from your perspective.
Where can people find that kind of specialized help? Sounds expensive.
It can be, but there are options. Legal aid programs exist in every province, and some have specific services for victims or people with disabilities. Check eligibility requirements. Also, brain injury organizations often provide advocacy support or can refer you to lawyers who have experience with ABI cases. Getting someone who understands ABI and the legal system is ideal.
Makes sense. Now, going back to those practical challenges of ABI memory organization, what are some essential tools or systems to help manage all the details? It sounds overwhelming.
It definitely can be. Organization becomes key. A master calendar system is pretty much non-negotiable. Put all court dates, meeting times, deadlines in there. Use reminders, multiple reminders, on your phone, paper calendar, whatever works.
Like a central command center.
Exactly. And a solid document organization system. Keep all letters, emails, police reports, court documents together, maybe a
That's
binder,
good.
maybe digital folders. Keep originals safe, have copies handy. Maintain a contact directory, names, numbers, emails for police, Crown, victim services, lawyers, case numbers. Keep it updated. And I love pre-appearance checklists. Before any court date or meeting, make a quick list. What documents to bring, questions you need to ask, notes you want to make, follow-up actions. Reduces stress on the day.
Good tip. Any tech help.
For sure. Smartphone calendar apps, reminder apps, note-taking apps, cloud storage for documents, leverage technology. And don't be afraid to ask a trusted friend or family member to help you set up or maintain these systems. It's about building support.
Communication is obviously vital in these legal settings, but ABI can sometimes affect how people listen, understand, or express themselves. Any strategies for effective communication?
Yes, communication needs to be really intentional. For active listening, don't be afraid to ask people to slow down. Ask them to repeat things. Ask for summaries, maybe even in writing. And clarify. Paraphrase back what you think you heard to make sure you understood correctly. So what you're saying is,
Takes courage, but important.
it does, but it's crucial. For clear expression, when you need to speak, try to speak slowly and clearly. Take pauses to organize your thoughts, it's okay. Use simpler language if possible. And the cornerstone is self-advocacy. Tell people up front about your communication needs related to your ABI. I sometimes need things repeated, or written information helps me. Request those accommodations.
Can professionals help with this?
Absolutely. A speech-language pathologist who understands ABI can provide fantastic personalized strategies for communicating effectively in stressful situations like legal settings.
Okay, what about virtual court? It's pretty common now. Does that help or hinder things for ABI survivors?
It's a mixed bag, really. The benefit is less travel stress, maybe feeling more comfortable in your own space. But the challenges are real, too. Technology glitches, unreliable internet, screen fatigue can increase cognitive load. It can be harder to read nonverbal cues.
So how to prepare for virtual appearances?
Preparation is key. Test your internet, your camera, your microphone beforehand. Have tech support numbers ready just in case. Find a quiet, private space where you won't be interrupted. Minimize distractions. Keep your documents organized and easily accessible near you. And importantly, realize that virtual settings might require different accommodations than in person. Maybe more frequent breaks due to screen fatigue.
And if the tech is just not working out?
That's a critical point. If the technology significantly hinders your ability to participate fairly, maybe the audio keeps cutting out, or you can't follow along. You have the right to raise that concern and potentially request an in-person appearance instead. Fair participation comes first.
Safety is always a concern in these situations. How should ABI survivors think about personal safety planning and managing risk, especially given potential ABI-related vulnerabilities?
Safety planning is vital, and sometimes ABI can add layers, maybe difficulty recognizing subtle danger cues or slower reaction times. It's really recommended to work with victim services or a safety expert to create a personalized, written safety plan. This involves a risk assessment, identifying potential risks, contact with the accused, travel to court, online harassment threats, then developing strategies. Keep emergency contacts updated and easily accessible: police, victim services, crisis lines, trusted friends. Plan safe transportation for court appearances. Maybe go with someone, let people know your route and timing. Evaluate your home security. Are locks okay? Windows secure? Consider temporary relocation if the risk feels high.
Are there legal protections for safety too?
Yes. Things like no contact orders, peace bonds, or bail conditions can be put in place. You can request enhanced security measures at the courthouse, talk to victim services or the Crown about options if you feel unsafe. Your safety is the priority.
Okay, so the court process eventually concludes. But the journey isn't over, is it? Let's talk about managing long-term recovery and healing.
You're absolutely right. The end of a legal case is a milestone, but healing is a much longer process. It often takes months, even years. You're dealing with recovery from the trauma of the crime itself and potential re-traumatization from the stress of the justice system. It's usually a gradual path, often non-linear, good periods and setbacks, much like ABI recovery itself.
Can things get worse before they get better?
Sometimes. It's common to experience ongoing anxiety, depression, maybe even a worsening of some ABI symptoms due to the prolonged stress. That's why ongoing support is key. But post-traumatic growth is also very possible. People emerge with stronger coping skills, better self-advocacy, deeper connections. We sometimes think about recovery in phases: right after the trial, focus on rest, routines. A few months later, reassess how you're doing, adjust support plans. Long term, it's about integrating the experience, maybe finding meaning, perhaps helping others down the line.
So developing a plan for after the case is important too.
Very much so. A post-resolution care plan. What supports will you keep using? What new goals do you have for recovery? Documenting your journey, maybe journaling, can also be helpful for processing.
Wrapping this all up then, getting through the criminal justice system as an ABI survivor is, well, it's huge. It shows incredible resilience.
It really does. It shows strength, self-advocacy skills you might not have known you had, and the importance of those support networks you built or strengthened along the way.
And those skills, that resilience, they don't just disappear after the case ends, right?
Not at all. That's the really empowering part. The skills you use to navigate the legal system, advocating for yourself, organizing information, managing stress, communicating clearly, those are invaluable life skills. You can apply them to other challenges, whether it's dealing with healthcare, employment, anything complex. Keep using the resources you found, victim services, counseling, support groups, advocacy networks. They're there for ongoing support.
So a final thought for you, our listener. Having navigated this incredibly difficult system demonstrates immense strength and capacity. What else does this experience now empower you to face or perhaps achieve? Maybe down the road when you feel ready, consider giving back perhaps through peer support or advocacy in the ABI or victim services communities. But only if and when it feels right for you, without compromising your own well-being.
Absolutely. Remember, healing is personal, it's ongoing, growth takes time, and support is always available. You're not alone on this journey.